It's showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
I'm pushed.
Me 3.
Yep. I'm glowing. Is that how we're going to start today? Me 3.
That's about right.
Decidedly downer intro,
Good
Andy. A fine
morning.
Saturday matinee to you, too.
Thanks for noticing.
All right, everybody, we got a guest star Eeyore here on the show this morning.
Steve, when did Andy show up? I hardly ever notice him.
Ouch. I see what you did there, and I don't like it.
It hurt. Steve is outdoor casting because Arizona right now, it is 51 degrees and rainy, and my wife and daughter are about to get in the car and drive an hour to go sit outside all day at a swim meet. What do you think about that? In the rain.
Wait, an outdoor swim meet?
Yeah.
Don't you have construction there that allows you to build buildings that you can put pools inside
Well, that's
of?
fairly recent. This one is still dug out of just mud. It's just a hole in the ground. It's an unfinished.
It's more of a pond swim meet than anything else.
The coach always starts with, now remember, kids, don't open your mouths.
And that glistening oil slick over there, stay away from that. That's taken out a few swimmers.
Yeah. Oregon. How's your movie lives? What's the latest?
It was slightly productive this week. I got a few documentaries out of the way. I think those reviews showed up in
Several.
Yeah. Well, it's Netflix is like becoming my go-to place for these documentaries that I never knew I wanted to watch.
Never knew I needed.
No, exactly. It's apparently my Netflix, recommendations are now like, stand-up comedian shows or documentaries. That's what I'm getting there now. I don't know why it's doing that, but that's what it's throwing at me. So yeah, I got to see one that just the title intrigued me because I'd never heard of Bathtubs Over Broadway. And it's interesting. It caught me with this concept of, in the trailer or preview of like, oh, there's this whole like secret industry that was going on and nobody knows about these things. And we were never meant to learn about these things. And now we're discovering them. Like, what are they talking about? But it's this industrial Broadway type things that they used to do is like big, like they get the whole sales team together and they would do these things as like motivational, inspirational new product line rollouts. But you had people like Florence Henderson and Martin Short that actually performed in these things back in the 70s and 80s. But it's really fun if you like that whole Broadway thing and enjoy musicals. I think people might really like that. So it was a pleasant surprise there on Netflix.
Well, I saw the post that you did about it, and then I read the synopsis because I'm like, what is this crazy thing that he's looking at? And it's something I had never heard of either. It sounded really interesting. So it certainly has piqued my curiosity.
And apparently it paid really well. There are people that, they made their living doing this for, decades, because this spanned from the late 50s up through the mid 80s. And if you got in on this, because I guess it was sort of like soap operas, you had to like memorize everything really fast. You'd do the show like once or twice, and then it was on to the next thing, and you had to like learn your lines and everything quickly. And if you could do that, they paid well. So there was that, and then let's see, John Wick 3. John Wick 3 last weekend.
I'm
was the other
embarrassed
thing.
to say that I haven't seen it yet.
What?
I know.
I haven't either.
Busy.
Both of you?
It's been a crazy.
Well,
yeah,
Steve, this is what you do to me. You say, well, you really can't watch it until you've rewatched the first two. I'm like, well, hell, I guess I'll have to wait till it's out digitally because I have no time to go rent the previous two.
I'd say the second one, because that's where the universe sort of expands and you get larger, scope of the whole Assassins community. And so if you're not up to speed on that, or you don't recall, you may lose some of the references and say, well, wait, who is this guy? What's going on with this? But it's still a whole heck of a lot of fun.
It's possible I will be watching them back to back today with my son, since my daughter and wife are going to be at the swim meet.
Yeah.
It's possible that's going to happen.
Really?
Yeah.
My daughter was invited to watch it, the first one at the neighbor's house, and we're like,
yeah. Oh my gosh.
I'm not saddled with such parental.
I know you don't have those
restraints.
same mental dilemmas.
And Pete, just warning, the third one, in an audience full of adults, there were lots of like, groans of anguish from some of the brutality. So it's fun and intense, but yeah, you
got to be ready for it. All right.
You got to be ready for some squirming in your seat for some of these things.
Like, noted
way at the back disregarded.
Exactly. It's fine. It's fine.
All I heard was fun.
Yeah, that's all you need to know.
That's right. Let's see, funny. Andy, you see anything good this week?
Well, now that I'm not having to plan 5 Iron Man shows a week, I've been able to jump back in. I'm not quite on my old bandwagon, but I certainly have had a busy week this past week. So to that extent, it's been good, and also this weekend here in Phoenix, it's the Phoenix Fan Fusion, which is the new name for the Phoenix Comic-Con, which they can't use anymore because San Diego Comic-Con sued everybody who used the name, and they all had to change it. And so now it's called Phoenix Fan Fusion, which is one of the stupidest names in the world, but is it? That's what we've got. So that's going on this weekend, and I'm actually on a panel, which should be fun. We're talking about kind of the birth of superhero movies in kind of this modern franchise world, and we're looking at the movies from Superman in 1978 up through X-Men in 2000. And so I've been doing a lot of watching and rewatching of some pretty bad and some pretty awesome superhero and comic book based films like Flash Gordon and Swamp Thing, Return of the Swamp Thing, Tim Burton's Batman. I finally watched Dolph Lundgren's The Punisher, all sorts
that was not good. The Punisher. That was not good.
It really was.
Sorry,
not good.
Dolph.
No, that and Howard the Duck were probably the 2 low points in my viewing experience. My high point, weirdly, I mean, as much as I enjoyed like Batman and the X-Men films, my high point was I watched Flash Gordon with my son and a couple of his friends. And as soon as the movie ended, and I mean, it's a fine movie. I had a fun time with it. It's campy, and it's really, they do a good job of creating the world. But my son, one of his friends, looked at, they were talking after. I'm like, do you guys like the movie? And they're like, oh, that was awesome. And one of his friends looked at me and goes like, they're definitely going to make a sequel to that one.
Hey, they still could. They still could.
Yeah, they still could, or a remake or whatever. You never know. But I just loved the passion he had with it. So
that's awesome.
Oh, it's a classic in our house. Just because of the Queen score. And my kids have been trained that if anyone ever says Flash, it must immediately be followed by
yeah, as you do. Yeah, right.
That's what you do when you talk about that movie. Yeah,
so funny.
Much fun.
But yeah, otherwise it's been a pretty good week of movie watching and just catching up on some other things. I had some catch up here too. I caught, it was a guilty pleasure catch up week. If you'll note from my diary, I started with Skyscraper, the Dwayne The Rock Johnson towering Die Hard Inferno, and it is a solid 2-star with a giant heart.
Yes,
it's not a good movie, and I loved it. I did Game Night, which was kind of middle of the road. I'd set my expectations probably way too high for that movie. I love those people, and I felt like the jokes didn't live up to the cast, and so I had to follow that up with a palate cleanser, The Hangover, which is one of my favorites of the genre, and so that was good. Ended up finishing that one, and then we did How to Train Your Dragon.
Do you watch that one with your?
I just finished it on my own. I introduced my daughter to it, and then she had to go do a thing and couldn't finish it with me, and so I finished it because I love it, and I'm sure we'll do it again. And then we did the third How to
Good.
Train Your
There
Dragon,
you go.
which is, true to form, a beautiful, beautiful movie that with a terrible, dumb villain that I wasn't crazy. I don't think their whole cat and mouse villain thing lived up to the rest of the series. But I thought it was just adorable and beautiful to look at. And the score is just exceptional. So there's a lot of great stuff going on in that movie so it was a good week. It was a good week.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
I'm trying to catch up. I'm watching less TV. I'm trying to be more Andy, less Pete for a little while so I can check some of these things off my list, and it's killing me. I haven't watched any of Star Trek season 2 or Discovery season 2, which is a real tragedy. I hear it's such a roller coaster, and now they have we finally got our first, I'm going to call it an official teaser of Star Trek Picard. What'd you think, Steve? I know you're excited about this.
Oh, no, the whole family's excited about this. It didn't give us anything. It's a pure teaser, but the fact that it's happening and we're going to have this through CBS Access. But yeah, no, I'm very excited about it. It's makes me want to go back and watch the last season of Next Generation again, because just that arc of Picard and the tail end of the finale of the series was amazing.
It was amazing. Yeah, talk about a show that just ended on a high note.
Yes, well planned.
Yeah, very, very well planned. I'm excited about it. I think it looks just beautiful, and the whole idea of trying to come to terms with why he left Starfleet. I think that it is such a perfect teaser. That kind of I couldn't help but think of Logan. You know what I mean? As I'm ending this,
yes.
him in it, it just has that sort of tone. So we'll see how well it does. I can't wait. I have a little bit of follow up after our conversation last week about fandom and fan outcry. Sonic the Hedgehog. No, I don't want to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog per se. I'm not crazy about this movie. But have you seen the news? Because I know you both have news alerts about Sonic the Hedgehog and because of your excitement about it. Have you heard what's going on with Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yeah, it's getting pushed back.
It's getting pushed back
next year.
Why is it getting pushed back? Because the fans rose up and about the character design.
In this case, I agree with the fans. If you're going to make a Sonic the Hedgehog movie, make it look like Sonic. That it was like, what the heck are they doing? I don't know.
They definitely
really
they leaned
strange.
in on Alien and not Hedgehog, right? Not
they leaned in on how do we make a cartoon? How do we make a cartoon look like it's in the real world? And so we're removing all the cartoonish aspects of this cartoon character, and that's the problem. I think they went with, hey, look at what worked with superhero movies. Instead of being cartoonish, we're going to make them, rooted in reality. So let's give this creature like real teeth. And Uncanny Valley creep zone is where they ended up, unfortunately.
Well, rooted in reality. I mean, at least like Detective Pikachu did rooted in reality, but made the characters look like the actual characters. That's the problem that I have with this one. And I mean, I've played Sonic before, and I mean, I'm not really a fan. My son is, but I mean, I don't know. I don't disagree with the fans on this one. This is just a decision that I feel like if they had done a few focus groups, that people probably would have told them long before they had to release a trailer that you did it wrong.
Well, that's fair. It is one of the, and I guess there is a difference. We'll say this between changing the film before it comes out and changing the film after. I guess is that what we're saying here? It's okay for fan backlash to have them go back to the drawing board before they release it versus, what we screwed up. We're going to. You
never know because I mean, look at this is an obscure one, or not obscure, but just recently in my memory. Look at Michael Keaton and the casting decision in Batman. People were up in arms back in the late 80s because they cast a comedian to play Batman, and they thought it was an awful idea. Yeah. It ended up working out really well in their favor. So it can work, It's just one of these things where I think there are times where the creative people actually have made a decision that is risky, but it's a good decision. And I don't know. Personally, I think in the case of Sonic, they made a risky decision that was bad in context of the character. And I think it would have been a disaster if they had released it that way.
So insofar as I think it's silly, that's separate, because I'm not a fan of Sonic, and I'm looking at Sonic and I need you to explain to me what people are upset about. Because I don't get what people are upset about with the character design. I legitimately don't. This is not me trolling. What is it that is wrong with the character of Sonic? The way they designed him in the film.
He's like a tall, long, lanky track star. Like, he runs a lot, so they didn't make him a squat, pudgy little Sonic Hedgehog thing. They just made him this like tall character that has long running legs. And I don't know, it just looked really stupid.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Andy's right on point when he said if they had done some focus groups, and maybe they did, and they didn't have the right people in those groups. They didn't. Question one wasn't, are you a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog? Yes or no, to make sure they're keyed into, these are people that are invested in this film and who we're directing this towards. Didn't filter for that, and then just, said, here's this character. People are like, okay, whatever. It's a kid's, video game movie. We don't care. So I think that it's because it's before release, you could say this is a delayed focus group feedback that they're responding to versus being disappointed afterwards and saying, wait, the fans are demanding that they redo the story because they didn't like the fact that, he was tall and Jim Carrey looks creepy or whatever.
Well, whatever you think about their decision to push back, I have to give massive credit to Jeff Fowler, whose response to this whole thing was just was gentlemanly. Thank you for your support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes. It's going to happen. Everyone at Paramount and Sega are fully committed to making the character the best he can be. I would not have probably been so genteel.
Well, I'm sure that was not his first draft.
I know. That's what I'm saying. Like, you write it, then you wait a day, then you delete it, and then you write it again. And maybe that's the movie I want to see, is Jeff Fowler trying to respond to the angry mob. So
I'm honestly surprised that Sega let it get to this point, because in context of these properties, you think that they would do everything they could to kind of retain the kind of the constant look that character has had. Mm-hmm. That to me is the biggest surprise in the whole thing.
And they clearly care about it. I mean, they're continuing to develop the property on new platforms, releasing it in other places. Like, this is the return of Sonic. These are the halcyon days of Sonic the Hedgehog. In better news, at least to my ear, Taika Waititi got a summer release, summer 2021, for his live action Akira remake. What do you think?
Yeah, exactly.
Did you know this was coming?
Seems like an odd choice to handle that property.
I thought so too, and it's being produced by Leonardo DiCaprio's Appian Way Productions, and he's taking a executive producer credit, I believe, and I think that's funny too.
That's less funny to me than the director choice, because I mean the producer. It's I guess it speaks to the decisions he may be making in picking the director. I don't know. I feel like there have been a lot of other names bandied about as far as people interested in directing it. And I don't know. It just seems like a really strange one. I just don't look at Akira as a comedic property. And I feel like Taika Waititi is a comedic director. And I have a hard time meshing the two. And I know he can probably do other things, but I just haven't seen it.
But I mean, he has the comic aspect, but Andy, you look at Hunt for the Wilder People, and it has its comic moments, but it does have more heart to it, and you've got that potential there. And even I went back because I was really excited about Hunt for the Wilder People. I wanted to see what else he had done while I was waiting for Ragnarok, and so I tracked down at the library his film from 2010, Boy, which is really good. It's a great family movie, about this 11-year-old child and his his fandom for Michael Jackson, but also his absentee criminal father that has come back, and it's an interesting family dynamic. So I know he can handle more serious stuff. I like that he'll perhaps have a lighter touch to Akira, because some anime stuff can get just so heady and, big philosophical statements like Ghost in the Shell and what if I think failure that was in trying to translate that into live action. So I'm hoping he's able to manage the story, but still keep a balance to it is what I'm hoping for this project. I'm not going to expect an actual literal straight, translation of the anime to live action. I'm hoping it's the similar story, but that he makes it its own, because I think that's going to be the best way to translate that into live action.
Kevin Feige came out and said in an interview when asked, how closely will the Disney Plus shows line up with the MCU? Because he had initially said last month that shows will have ramifications throughout the film franchise. And that was, we talked a little bit about that, how that worked with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in the first and second seasons. And so he did a Reddit AMA this week and said, when asked how will the Disney Plus shows weave into the films, his answer was short. He said, totally and completely. So that's good.
Yeah.
That sounds promising. It sounds promising for what I wanted out of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. all along. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Link to the AMAs in the show notes. Oh, okay. I have one more that I thought about. Just okay. One more. It's
Go
very
ahead.
brief. Did you hear what Harrison Ford said when asked who he thought should play the next Indiana Jones?
Yes, I did hear that. And I think he's absolutely right.
Well, I didn't
He
hear
said
what
When I'm gone, he's gone.
Yep. There's. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yep.
Indiana Jones is not James Bond. Indiana
That's
Jones
right.
is Harrison Ford.
That's a very interesting contractual thing that apparently he's trying to instill. Clearly he didn't have the same pull with Han Solo.
Right.
No.
Right.
Although I have heard, this is a random thing, I have heard that, speaking of Solo, that it has such a growing fan base that are pushing for a Solo sequel.
Well, I'd be okay with that. I enjoyed Solo.
Yeah.
I watched it again recently and I liked it more.
Right.
It's one that I think I fluctuate with because I feel like it's, somewhat forgettable, but I do find it fun to watch. So I think sure, why not?
Yeah.
Oh, and
I'm all for it.
And speaking of resurrecting dead franchises or franchises that some people might wish were dead or not go anywhere, I know Ridley Scott recently said that he's working on new Alien movies in this franchise and taking it in a different direction. And what he talked about was he thinks the stories that are told need to morph into something different, not just alien bursting out of the chest and death and then killing the monster. He said that's what they were trying to do with Prometheus by leaving the monster till the end, the alien till the end of trying to tell stories in a different way. I don't know how much is backpedaling on all that, but at least he's exploring telling something different in that universe, at least is what he's stating at this time.
Which I think is all great, as long as it's,
yes,
as long as the audience is
good,
is with you, I feel like part of what was movies, had it been, when you find out that this is an alien movie, you expect it to be an alien movie, and but the gap between what he wanted to do and what we expected is where a lot of the problem happened.
Yes, exactly, and he's trying to say This is quite a statement, but he said, basically the pinnacle of everything started with the first one. And he said, there's only ever the one. He said, it's like trying to do a sequel to 2001. I'm like, whoa. I love Alien. I love the first one. It is one of my top films of all time. To say it's like 2001 and you can't do a sequel to it is a bit too far on that one.
I kind of like the sequel to 2001.
I was going to say, clearly the 2001 people didn't hear that either.
Right. Okay.
That's funny.
All right. What do we have? Let's do some trailers.
Let's do it.
Who's going first?
Do we have any rules?
No, I don't think we have any Any rules on this?
Rules.
Who needs rules?
Need
Not Andy.
rules?
Andy's got the rule book right next to him. I don't know.
I make
Yes.
the rules and I
Well,
break
what-
the rules.
you know what?
That's my role.
We
here
were
with
talking
the show.
about Marvel, and you were talking about going in and exploring, superhero films from the 70s. Why don't you go first? Because you've got a superhero thing here that's kind of interesting.
I do. I have this movie. I really don't think it's going to be a good one, but I love the idea and I love the whole concept. I had such a great time with Bubba Hotep when that film
yes.
came out. I thought that the team behind it, clearly they were having fun with this idea of a kind of a retired Elvis paired with a JFK who has been dyed black. It was in a senior citizen home trying to stop an ancient evil. I thought that was such a fun idea for a movie. It wasn't perfect, but it's a blast to watch. And I think Coscarelli and the team really had fun with it. This movie might have the potential to have some of that fun. I don't know. It also kind of looks really stupid.
Andy's really selling it.
I know I am, but I really want to give them the benefit of the doubt because it might have some fun moments. This is the film Supervised with a Z, I should say, because it's a UK film. Steve Barron, writer, director. Actually, I don't know if he's the writer on it, but it is a film that is about a group of aging superheroes in a retirement home in Ireland who kind of similar to the other one, they find something happening, some evil happening. In this case, the trailer does kind of give it away. It sounds like the lady who runs the home is trying to steal the powers from the supers to become the mega super. And these 4 aging supers in this retirement home have to come together for one last hurrah. These are, of course. I have to open it somewhere else because on Wikipedia, I mean on IMDb, they of course don't give me their fantastic superhero names, which I really want to make sure we emphasize because they are fantastic. The different names that these characters have. Where is it? I'll find it. But right now it's we've got Tom Berenger, we've got Fionnuala Flanagan, Louis Gossett Jr., and Beau Bridges as the 4 supers who are trying to stop this lady. And yeah, I part of me just think it looks really fantastic. Then I look at their super suits and I'm like, oh boy, those look like they were made out of felt by a kindergarten class. They didn't sell me at all on these little things. So I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this one, but I want to believe that it's going to be something special. I don't know. But yeah, so we have Tom Berenger is Maximum Justice. Beau Bridges is Shimmy. Fionnuala Flanagan is the Madeira Moonlight. And Louis Gossett Jr. is Total Thunder. I don't know. I don't know what to expect, but I still couldn't help but chuckle as I watched this. So, what do you guys think?
To me, my first reaction looking at the superhero outfits and everything, I thought, oh yeah, we're in a different world where it's still in this cartoonish land. But it feels so. To me, it reminded me of very much like late '90s approach to doing superhero film, sort of like Mystery Men or something like that, which is still a lot of fun. Yeah, the concept is really intriguing. It's like Red with superheroes, right? We've got the aging retired folks coming back.
Right,
so
yeah.
I want this to be fun. I want to have a good time with this. And I think it's a film that isn't taking itself too seriously. And so the audience shouldn't take it too seriously. I think if you can, if it's executed well, this should be a lot of fun. So I am looking forward to something just frivolous and fun and light.
Well, and if nothing else, I'm giving you and JJ a really fun option to put on your trailer rewind.
I think it's great to see Tom Berenger here. Like, I get the feeling like his character in this home for superheroes is feeling similarly to him, the person being in this movie.
I felt that a few times too.
And I think he's great, and I've missed seeing him in stuff. I don't know if I'm gonna see him in this, but it looks. I'm with you. Like, there is a chance that the felt first grade superhero suits are of a piece with the movie, and that it actually adds to it. I hope that is the thing. I hope that we're all laughing along with it and not at it, because it has. I feel like it has real opportunity to be genuinely heartwarmingly funny. But I too am a bit nervous. Louis Gossett Jr. Come on. That's a get for this movie.
Well, supervised. It's going to open limited release and VOD starting July 19th. So check it out and let us know what you think.
All right, Steve.
All right.
Okay. So my trailer isn't brand new. I think it was released a week or two ago, and I stumbled across this, and it's the story of a military veteran that hunts the men who kidnapped her son. Which, okay, that's one thing. There's a lot of these sort of like straight to video films like this, but it's the cast of this one that really drew me in, because as your big bad, your tough guy is Richard Dreyfuss, and I'm like, okay, where I haven't seen him in forever, so he's gonna play this role. There's something, he's gonna chew this one up, but it's our lead. It's Gina Carano, who I just fell in love with in Haywire, the Soderbergh film, where she's sort of an assassin. She's like a former MMA fighter, and just her being a badass in this film is something that I think is going to be a lot of fun. It's like the opposite of John Wick. Instead of being in the city, she's out in the wilderness, hunting and tracking these guys down that have taken her son. And it's something that I'm looking forward to, the stunts and the fights and all of this. There's probably not a whole lot to this story, but that's not what I'm going to this for. This is a film I'm going to go see for the awesome action and outdoor scenery. And it's called Daughter of the Wolf. And as I shared with Pete and Andy, and Pete, you can put it in the show notes, there's a great short film called The Cub about a girl that is raised by wolves. And I thought, this is the natural sequel to that. Daughter of the Wolf. You get trained by wolves. You get to be a badass. You fight to protect your son when he gets taken by bad guys. August 2nd, 2019. Is this going to be a big theatrical release? No, this will be something JJ and I watch on a trailer rewind, because I will be surprised if this plays in a lot of theaters, but I'm going to have fun with this. I feel it. I'm hopeful. Richard Dreyfuss, you guys. Richard Dreyfuss.
What Richard Dreyfuss is playing the part of Captain Overdrive, or what, Maximum Overdrive in Supervised. What is he doing in this movie? Like, does he have nothing else to do at this time? I think okay. First, we need more movies with women protagonists that are like women Rambo. We need more movies like that. And this movie, like this trailer, because Gina Carano is such an enormously physical actress, like this trailer, I think looks most sort of authentic to the heyday of Stallone, Schwarzenegger. Oh yeah. We'll say Lundgren generously.
Sure,
films,
even
right,
even Liam
80s.
Neeson nowadays, right? I mean,
yeah, right, Liam Neeson, and it's like we need more of these kinds of things, and so I absolutely celebrate that. I don't know if this is. I'm with you. Like, this is not going to be a movie you watch for the story, because it doesn't appear like there's much in the trailer that's leading me and provoking me to want to see it for the drama. And mostly, I mean, if I see it out of curiosity for Richard Dreyfuss's role, great. I wonder just how many minutes of screen time he has in this movie.
It's all in the trailer.
I think it's all in the trailer. That's my hunch. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for a trailer last week, I brought kind of a romantic comedy that looked like it had some interesting things that could work because of the characters, and I liked what they were doing with it. it looked pretty standard as far as rom-coms go, but it's still kind of, I don't know, it caught my eye. I feel like this falls into the same camp for you where, you know, I don't see anything special in it. It looks like the last Liam Neeson movie where he was in the wilderness trying to stop people, which I can't even remember the name of. That's how much it impressed me.
Exactly.
So I, you know, and Gina Carano, I think she's fine, but there's nothing special. I haven't seen anything with her that I find interesting. So, you know, it looks like it could be, you know, a little more than kind of a straight up action movie, but not much. So it's probably not something I will check out.
Okay.
She was angel dust, man. Deadpool.
That means nothing to me. I don't know. I don't even know what you're talking about when you say that.
God. Okay. Well, of all of y'all, I'm most excited about my trailer. Which is a new film from writer-director Riley Stearns.
Love me some Riley Stearns.
I was going to say, Steve, please, you shall begin the ovation. This is The Art of Self-Defense. I felt such a weird and unfortunate connection with Jesse Eisenberg's character in this movie, and that's saying probably too much. I think he's attacked at random on the street, and so he goes to his local dojo and meets up with a new sensei to learn how to defend himself. He wants to become what he fears, and so this is Jesse Eisenberg's journey to become, a karate fighting, I guess, Mark Zuckerberg. How about that? The circle is now complete. It's a fantastic cast. Jesse Eisenberg obviously is the lead, but Imogen Poots is in this, and Alessandro Nivola as the sensei, and it's got that sort of weird kind of pacing of the dialogue. It's unnatural and yet sort of supernatural. And it's already out of 137 votes. Those who've seen it at festivals already bring it to a 7.2 on the IMDb 6-star scale. That's great news for this off-the-wall comedy that definitely pushes my buttons. What do you guys think?
Oh, I'm excited about this because I'm excited to see Riley Stearns back. JJ and I talked about his prior film Faults back in 2017. It was our last trailer rewind. His film Faults, which blew us away. He's also the one that wrote and directed that fabulous short, The Cub. His tone is he can make you sort of feel uncomfortable and awkward really well. And I think that comes through in the trailer. So I'm really, really looking forward to this one because it's an interesting exploration of what it means, you know, to be a man, to defend yourself, to, you know, all of these issues in an era of like toxic masculinity. I'm really intrigued with what he's going to be, you know, trying to say with this film. And I just think great casting in here. Jesse Eisenberg, I think this is perfect role for him, and I'm really looking forward to this when it comes out.
Yeah, this one it piques my curiosity, certainly. I thought Faults was a really interesting film to look at with some strong performances at its foundation. And this one looks like it could fall into that same camp. It does have that kind of off-center comedic tone running through it, which, you know, I've seen some films where that works really well, some films where it doesn't quite, I don't quite jive with it. In this one, I think I mostly jived with it. I think that it could actually be a pretty interesting movie to check out. So it certainly drew me in, and I'm curious about checking this one out.
Well, if you hit South by Southwest, you might have seen it in March. If you hit the Chicago Critics Film Festival, you might have seen it just on the 19th, just a few days ago. If you really want to see it, it looks like it's getting a wider release July 12th. So coming right up in a couple of months in the USA. I have no release dates for other countries. So be on the lookout. I'm hoping it gets a wider release because I think it looks really funny and dark, and it makes me cry. So there you go.
Do you get your groceries stolen in the parking lot and sit in your car and cry about it?
Exactly. All right. Now we're on to the list.
Time for the lists. So we're looking at George Cukor's 1944 film Gaslight this week, and we decided to have as one of our options films in which someone gets gaslit, and that one kind of stole the show. Everyone wanted us to talk about that, so here we are talking about movies in which somebody gets gaslit.
Was this a hard one for you?
Was hard for me to think of movies where it happened, but a few searches on the internet, I was like, oh, okay, I can see that. And so it once I kind of got into the flow, it ended up being a little easier.
It for me, it was one of those where I, now that we've sort of thrown ourselves into the concept of gaslighting, I start looking at these movies where gaslighting is obviously happening, and it makes me sad to think about, like, this is really manipulative behavior in this lightweight romantic comedy, for example. Like, what are we doing to each other as humanity? This is terrible behavior. And so I'm going to have to turn off my brain for a little bit. So
yeah, I struggled with when it's gaslighting versus whether you're just like conning somebody. So I did some searching, like what really is at the heart of gaslighting, and the definition that came up with out of some articles said that many common forms of manipulation are about getting our own way, like gaming the system, whereas gaslighting is simply about controlling someone else. So that sort of helped me focus a little bit, because I thought, just being deceptive and tricking somebody isn't really gaslighting. So I was trying to get to the root of that manipulating piece, which at first was a bit of a struggle, but I think I came up with a pretty good list on this one, but we'll see. I don't know. I have a feeling there's going to be some steals, maybe some double steals in here.
I'm worried about.
And there may be somewhere we end up like, is that gaslighting?
Not really.
Well, we'll still count it.
All right, Andy's already setting the bar low for himself. So there he's like,
right. All right.
I'm just trying to help you guys out. I've got to count.
All right, well, go ahead and lead us off.
Andy, why don't you kick it off?
All right, so I am starting with I think probably for me one of the most obvious ones, but it's a film I really love, and it's with a director that I more recently have issues with, but back at this point in his career, I didn't have as many issues with him. It is Roman Polanski's Rosemary's Baby from 1968. This is just such a creepy film. I love it. And of course, you have Rosemary, who dreams that she's raped, but her husband's like, no, I just made love to you in your sleep last night. And then as it turns out, she keeps having all these issues, and everybody is pretty much gaslighting her, because as it turns out, it's a whole group of Satan worshipers, and they had the devil come, and she's now having the devil's child. It's such a great horror movie. I love it. First choice, Rosemary's Baby.
No. We just did it in your sleep. Don't worry about it. You're fine. Don't worry. Yeah. Classic gaslighting.
Yes. Was that a steal from anybody?
No.
It was on my list, but it was not a steal.
Because I've never seen it. I've seen bits and pieces, but it's what? I don't know. I have Polanski issues, and the subject matter, I just, no. I think I saw excerpts on like WGN as a kid, and I have horrible childhood memories, because I think it was in 4th grade, I saw like the edited for TV version of The Exorcist. So like horror movies on TV at that time, I just can't do it. Don't want to. But no, great pick. Definitely. Yeah.
Well, it's worth watching, and it's before he turned into super creep. So I feel more okay watching those pre Sharon Tate murder films.
All right, okay. Steve, what's your first?
My first, let's see, let's go with this one. And this is one that I have not seen in a while. But as I was looking at it, I thought, oh my gosh, this is the perfect example of this, of when you've got a system telling somebody, no, you're imagining things. This really is your kid. No. Even if he is a few inches shorter, no, it's still your kid. And she's like, no, he's not my kid. Oh, well, we'll put you in a mental hospital because clearly you're not buying into what we're telling you. In Clint Eastwood's 2008 Changeling with Angelina Jolie, which Eastwood is sort of hit or miss for me. And this is one that really surprised me because I think the marketing didn't know what to make of this movie at that time. And so I wasn't sure what to expect, if this was going to be like a police procedural of like getting into, the mystery of finding this kid. And there are aspects of that. But it's one that I haven't seen in a while, and I think I'm probably going to revisit because it's, as I've just, in exploring the story on this, I thought, yeah, this one I really enjoyed. And it's before I was, ranking and flick charting stuff. So I'm kind of curious where this one's going to fall. But that's my first one is Changeling.
Andy, was that a steal?
It's a really interesting movie. It was on my list. It was on my list, but not a steal. It wasn't one of my 3 that I was going to go with. It was a backup because of all of that. And the fact that it's a true story just blows my mind that this is something that really happened. It's not one of my favorite Eastwood films, but it's certainly one that I found to be a very interesting story.
I'm in the same place. It was a backup for me too. Lucky it didn't make my top 3 because I'm right with you. It is a classic example. And God, the true story just makes my heart sink. Great pick. My first one is one that it was based on a book that I enjoyed. It was a tough read. They made the movie, and I didn't like the movie as much. But it's actually gotten better in hindsight. The movie for me, it's the 2016 film "The Girl on the Train," in which we use alcohol abuse to plant these sort of false memories in our protagonist here. It creates an incredibly unreliable narrator and a really dark and manipulative experience, and a pretty solid thriller mystery too. So it's definitely worth reading if you haven't read the Paula Hawkins novel. And I think it's worth seeing, particularly as a good example of gaslighting in a horribly damaging relationship.
I haven't read the book or seen the movie
because I heard the movie was not so good. I may read the book, but based on your stellar glowing review of the film, maybe I'll just stick with the book.
Yeah, it's not stellar glowing, but it is a 6.5 on the IMDb. It just skids right over. Screeches right over the 6-star rule. It's better. I think Emily Blunt is really quite good, and so the cast is strong. It's see it if it streams someday past you late at night. You should definitely see it. It is a story of it's like in that Gone Girl category of manipulation. Like, it's dark. So get ready for that. But yeah, there you go. Girl on the Train. Andy, number 2.
For my second one, I am looking at a 1955 film directed by Henri-Georges Clouzot. It is Les Diaboliques, which is The Devils. It is a really interesting psychological thriller about some teachers at a kind of a school in France where these 2 women conspire. It's the woman and her husband's mistress conspire to murder the woman's husband. And they do so, but then the body disappears. And then this woman, it's like all these strange things keep happening. Like, and is she losing her mind? Is her husband a ghost? Is he haunting this place? What's going on? And then, of course, there's the ending, which I don't want to spoil in case people haven't seen it. But it's kind of a really interesting kind of creepy movie as you learn kind of that this woman is, in kind of a strange plan, being driven crazy and driven to a point which, again, I don't want to get to the ending. It's kind of hard to talk about it without going into too much depth with it, but it's a really interesting twist at the ending. And but it's kind of difficult because it's watching this woman kind of being driven to a place where she thinks this place is haunted by her husband's spirit, and it's a pretty interesting, creepy little psychological thriller. So that's my second choice.
Haven't seen it.
Neither have I.
Oh, interesting.
It's okay. It's out there on Canopy and Criterion, and
it's a Criterion thing. So if you've got that, check it out.
It's always been out there, but I just never had the incentive. So yeah, okay, Andy, patient zero it is. On this one, I will.
Yeah, just make sure you avoid the remake
96?
In the mid '90s with Sharon Stone and Kathy Bates, Isabella Gianni. I haven't seen it, but I've never heard a good thing about it. So that's one to avoid.
Add to my holiday weekend viewing. So okay,
there you go. I look forward to reading your review.
All right, Steve.
All right, Steve. What's next?
Okay, let's see. Where do I go here? I think I will do this one. Is this where I want to go? Yeah, I'll do this one. I guess we're getting into gray areas on this one as to whether it's really gaslighting. I don't know, because you do have a character that's being manipulated. But I guess the manipulation doesn't come from trying to drive them crazy. I think the insanity comes from after certain events. But I'm talking about the Hitchcock classic Vertigo, where we've got, Jimmy Stewart, and he's got the, fear of heights and vertigo and all that, and he's manipulated because of those weaknesses to play a role in a plot. But it's after that he starts to think he's losing his mind. He starts seeing this woman other places. So it's sort of gaslighting, but not really. I don't know. So I felt like it's sort of close enough, and it's one that I haven't revisited in a long time. So I probably will. That's my second pick there, Vertigo.
Such a great movie.
Yeah, such a great movie.
I think you could call it gaslighting. It's an odd one though, the fact that they go through such a process with him.
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
I'm doing my Hitchcock sound film a revisit kind of series personally, and that's something I'm going to have to think about as I rewatch that one, is look at it in the gaslighting context and really kind of gauge how it fits.
It probably does, because a lot of movies do now that once you see it, it's like one of those lenticular posters, like it's everywhere.
Yeah.
My second film is a 2002 film, Enough, with Jennifer Lopez and Billy Campbell and Juliette Lewis. And this is one of those films where there's the gaslighting where the victim doesn't know that they're being gaslit, and the world around them it makes them question the world around them. And then there's the other side, the emotional abuse side, where the victim absolutely knows that they're being gaslit, but everybody else does. It's the Cassandra complex, where you can see the future, but nobody believes you. That's sort of this other emotional abuse, sort of relationship gaslighting. That's what's going on in Enough. It's a lot of, blame the victim. Ends up being a horrifying, chase, much more of a thriller as Billy Campbell is chasing her down. It starts insidiously enough where he doesn't tell her, but he picks up their child from school and she goes into a panic. All these things to make her start to feel like she's a little bit broken. And then it becomes one of those empowering movies where she goes and she gets trained and she, okay, who am I saying? Kidding. This is The Art of Self-Defense, but with Jennifer Lopez. And so it is, I haven't seen it in a long time, but I remember it being a tight little thriller. It was, it was a fun, insofar as these things are fun excuse to see Jennifer Lopez kick some ass. And, I like Nicholas Kazan as a writer. He's written some things that I'm a fan of, also some things that I'm not, but I was a fan of this. So there you go.
I haven't seen it.
No, neither have I.
I like that.
It didn't look good. Your review of it is like, oh, maybe I should check it out. But I just remember at the time, I'm like, it doesn't sound very good. But maybe it's worth looking at.
Certainly in the context of emotional abuse in a relationship and an ass-kicking movie, you can't do a better mashup than Enough. Okay, wait. Yes, you can, but Enough is still in the running. How about that?
solid 5.7 on the IMDb scale.
Yeah, it's barely there. Barely.
Yeah, well, I think the issue is I see it's PG-13, so I don't know if they softened some things in that led to, I don't know. But it's one that,
You know what? You know who you see this for, actually. Billy Campbell is he's not a nice guy. And he's really good at being a not nice guy. And, for those of us who really loved him as Cliff in The Rocketeer, when you see him playing this role, you don't like him anymore as The Rocketeer. So there's that.
Okay.
All right. Andy, number one pick, your favorite gaslighting movie.
For my final choice, I'm going with one that, the gaslighting portion of it is a relatively small portion of the film. It's a film that I really love. And I guess I never really put it in context of gaslighting. And I'm like, gosh, that's kind of dark and diabolical, which I knew it was dark and diabolical in the movie. But I always had a chuckle about it because of the way that it plays out.
This is a steal. I can feel it. I can feel it in your setup.
It is, of course, the absolutely brilliant Amélie by Jean-Pierre Jeunet, 2001 romantic comedy. But largely, it is the very specific story about, she Amélie is, goes on all these little kind of side adventures, I guess you could call them, with the different people in her life. And there's this particular like fruit stand that she stops by, and the owner of it is terrible to his assistant. And so she decides to basically gaslight him and make him think he's crazy. She messes up his shoelaces. She changes the light bulbs in his house so that they flicker, and she changes his alarm clock so he gets to work at the wrong time. She changes his doorknobs. She really does everything she can to make him think he's losing his mind. And it's kind of a really strange thing to do, just to help this employee out. And it's actually pretty dark and evil when you think about it. But in context of a romantic comedy, it ends up just being kind of funny. But anyway, that's my final pick, Amélie.
Such a hard steal for me, if only because I think you neglected to say the best one, where she changes the speed dial from Mother to the psychiatric hospital. I love that.
It has been, I don't think I've seen this since it first came out. So it's really hazy recollection on that. So I don't remember the story that well for this one to have come to mind. And in my searches, it came up, and I'm like, well, I don't remember this enough to say, oh yeah, I remember that piece strongly. So it's one that I remember enjoying, but again, not coming back to. So yeah. Well,
it's. I think it's worth checking out. I love the movie.
Yeah.
So
there we go.
All right, Steve,
cool.
You're number one.
All right. Okay. Yeah, I just watched this recently, and I remember the first time I saw it, saying, "Oh yeah, that was a pretty good adaptation." And the second time, just seeing just a darker comic side to the story in Gone Girl. So I think probably it's, again, gaslighting. It's not so much she's trying to, it is about the controlling piece. And it's such both of these people are horrible people and the games they play with each other. But I think just the main story of a woman who is just manipulating creating her own disappearance. Yeah, that's my number one. I love a good Fincher, and I'm waiting to see what he does next. But yeah, that's my number one, Gone Girl.
That's an interesting one. They are terrible people. That's for sure.
Can you hear my dog howling in the background?
No, I just heard a bark.
He's whenever a siren goes by, he feels like it's the call of the wild, and he starts baying at our window, and that's what's going on. I had to mute for a second. He's full on at the moon kind of a thing. He's like, my people, rise up.
Yes, exactly.
Gone Girl. That's one of those where it's like the world is being changed, and nobody else believes you. Kind of gaslighting experiences, and I really enjoyed Gone Girl. I think more than others. I can't get anybody around here to watch it with me anymore.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, just show it to your son.
That's a great point. Oh, yes. Fertile grounds, Andy. Thank you for the reminder. Well, my number one pick was Amélie, because it's amazing. But now I'm going to have to go to a backup, and I'm going to have to go to that. I've never thought of it this way. I didn't even really. It is not a movie that aged well as a comedy, but I'm going to say it because it's one of those classic gaslighting things. When you have somebody who you don't like and they get amnesia, the proper response is not to pretend that they're married to you and make a fool of them. The proper response is to get them medical help. That's what I would say to Kurt Russell in Overboard. The whole movie is gaslighting, and we should be ashamed that we find it so funny because it's not. And I am amazed that this movie got remade, given that context. And so, no disrespect to, was that Anna Faris? But my goodness, this is not a charming story. And, I know we can look at it with whatever eyes we bring to it, but it's when you look at it from the context of gaslighting, it's pretty grim. So there you go. Overboard. Were you guys fans of Overboard?
I was.
It's
in
been
the 80s,
it's been a while.
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it was that whole Kurt Russell, Overboard, Captain Ron era.
Yeah. I'm not sure that it holds up, but I'm with you. I mean, 1987 is a long time ago. That's when I would have seen it. Yeah. And, I'm sure I saw it again in college at some point. But I was watching clips of it this morning and watching the trailer again to get up to speed. And it's pretty funny in this context that it's so amusingly mean-spirited.
Somebody needs to do a recut of the trailer with some psychological thriller score and just turn it into like the dark gaslighting version of the film.
Yeah.
Yes.
Truly.
So
there you go.
Get to work on that, listeners.
That's right.
All right. Well, there's our list. So we are looking at Spellbound. This is our first Hitchcock movie on the show, believe it or not. So what are we going to do about Spellbound? I feel like we have to do dream sequences. Like that is a foundation of the movie.
Yes.
Right.
And I'll be disappointed if no one puts Dreamscape on their list.
Dreamscape is already on. Shouldn't that be on all three of our lists? Is there an emoji for a triple steal? I was thinking about that. I was thinking about Salvador Dali. Other great Salvador Dali movie impacts, but maybe dream sequence is enough.
I think dream sequences will
I think the Salvador Dali one is going to be very limited list.
It's very short. The other, how about what could it be called? I'm a Terrible Psychotherapist movies.
Why don't we just say, just like me and my shrink? Let's just do me and my shrink.
Me and my shrink.
Great.
Is this the one that has the POV with the gun? It's been okay because I'm trying to remember because that was like, I don't know, the first time I recall seeing. I guess you don't see a lot of POV stuff in the when you're dealing with big cameras back in 1945. I don't think they were doing a lot of POV stuff. So I'm just trying to remember which Hitchcock this is because I remembered Salvador Dali, but I'm trying to remember when I did my Hitchcock binge.
We could do interesting films with an interesting POV.
Yeah.
I think that's an interesting idea.
Yeah.
Unique POV stuff. Yeah.
All right. So dream sequences, me and my shrink, and POV.
Yes. Okay. I like it.
All right. Well, the list is going up, everybody. So get your votes in, and we will figure out what we're going to talk about next week.
I love it how it dings that it's already in before you finish talking about it. How do you do that? So fast.
I am a master.
All right. This is a good list. See all of the movies except Overboard on our list today. And definitely see Amelie twice. And that's all we got. Thank you, Steve and Andy. What's the first thing you guys are going to see this weekend?
Well, I got to watch Spellbound.
I guess I'm going to sit down and watch Diabolicue.
I'm
going to do Diabolicue while having some barbecue on a nice Memorial Day weekend. I don't know. I want to use this weekend. There's movies I want to revisit, like Fury And I haven't seen Saving Private Ryan in a long time, but I don't know that the family's going to be up for those types of things. But I'm trying to maybe squeeze one of those in this weekend on a Memorial Day weekend. So
good plan. Good plan. Well, this has been a great conversation. As always, thank you all for this fine Saturday matinee. Thank you for supporting us over on patreon.com/thenextreel and helping us do what we do, paying for the costs of producing the show and keeping it coming to you. Thank you, everybody. If you haven't considered supporting us, if you're catching this for free on Patreon, we sure would appreciate you considering throwing us a couple of bucks. You get access to all kinds of fun stuff. You can join us on our Discord channel and talk to all the other movie lovers who like to hang out and talk about movies. It's really fun. That's all I got. Andy, Steve, have a great weekend.
See ya.
Outdoor Hondo.